Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the closing ceremony, Cairo Call for Action towards the UN 2023 Water Conference, Endorsement and the Way Forward. The last of many sessions during this Cairo Water Week. I'm Henk Ovink, Special Envoy for International Water Affairs for the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And I'm happy to moderate again, as we started this morning with the high-level panel setting up and off the agenda and the ambition when it comes to the Cairo call for action towards the COP and the UN conference. Getting your input over the last days and weeks in prepping for Cairo Water Week. Now is the time to conclude on the Cairo call for action and move ahead. Moving ahead is going to be of critical importance. Within a couple of weeks, we find ourselves in Sharm el-Sheikh talking about climate, and we know water is at the heart of anything climate, at the root cause, as well as mitigating that cause and mitigating its impacts, moving towards resiliency and adaptation and sustainability. But beyond that, we find ourselves in the midst of the Water Action Decade, a decade championed by the Republic of Tajikistan, and we're midway next year. And this midterm review is celebrated by the UN 2023 Water Conference, but with the ambition of the world and the support of the government of Tajikistan in partnership with the government of the Netherlands and our many partners across the world, that conference now puts water at the heart of all the sustainable development goals in the context of moving towards a water secure, safe, equitable, resilient, and sustainable place for all, everywhere. And that is not an easy task. As I said this morning, water is often misunderstood, undervalued, and mismanaged. And if we continue to stay in that space, water is always secondary, well, tertiary, or even lower on the ladder when it comes to driving and leveraging the opportunities that come with investing in water, having secured water management in place that is inclusive, that is cross-sectoral, and that is action-oriented. So concluding here is always the beginning of a journey ahead. Every time you think you can stop, the pace has to accelerate, the commitment has to increase, and the impact has to become more numerous. A challenging task for all, but also a massive opportunity. From Cairo to COP, from COP to the UN conference, and then I see stepping stones like the SDG summit in September, where we have to harness and galvanize water at the heart of all the sustainable development goals. And a year ahead, the COP28, again making sure that water is at the heart of climate action, following through in the year after in the Summit of the Future, where water should be the inspirational horizon that drives our actions forward, looking towards 2028, the end of the action decade, and 2030, the beginning of a new era when we think about post-SDGs. Water can be this blue thread, defining our horizon, but also helping us support the baseline of every action forward. We find ourselves in the midst of this, a critical moment in time. It's my honor and pleasure to be here with you and moderate a panel to close off. And to start this panel, we start with the Cairo Call for Action, and of course, with His Excellency, Professor Hani Sewilam, Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation for the Arab Republic of Egypt. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Henk, for the introduction. Yes, I think it is the time to speak about the Cairo Call for Action, and I think we all realize the importance of putting the water at the heart of climate change, and also achieving the SDGs as things, or the 17 SDGs that we are committed to achieve them, and also we have to consider the water scarcity and the situation with the water in our country and also in the African countries and beyond the African countries. So water is a cross-cutting issue with all the 17 SDGs. Of course, SDG 6 is meant to or devoted for water, but we all know that without water we cannot achieve the SDGs. So that's why we believe that the water scarce countries, they need special attention and they need to be considered in the next phase of the process towards achieving the SDGs. And I think there is a need to take this to the UN Conference 2023, and that's why we want to stress on promoting and achieving and implementing the SDGs, and the Cairo Call for Action is focusing on that. Cairo Call for Actions has 4 main pillars. The first one is focusing on transboundary cooperation, and we do have many good examples for transboundary cooperation. I think the easiest example for me is to take Egypt as an example. 97% of the Egyptian water is coming from the River Nile, so transboundary for us is very important, and transboundary for us means cooperation. Does not mean anything else except cooperation for the benefit and the win-win of all the Nile Basin countries. And I think we are not the only one, because transboundary does not only deal with rivers, it also deals with groundwater. And groundwater transboundary is something that is facing many countries, and also rivers are, I think there were more than 200 countries that have transboundary issues that we hope to speak always about transboundary cooperation. The second pillar is promoting water and climate cooperation. And I think the good example here, what you heard today and yesterday, is the AWARE initiative that we are going to position and going to continue promoting till the COP27 and beyond the COP27 to be implemented. And AWARE stands for Action for Water Adaptation and Resilience. And this is very important because, as I mentioned today morning, this will be the first time that water will be positioned on the climate action agenda, or in the climate change agenda, or the global climate change agenda. And that's why AWARE initiative is very important for us and for all the countries. It is an initiative that's launched here in Egypt, but it's not an Egyptian initiative. It's an initiative, it's a global initiative. It considers mainly the voice of the South, not only Africa, but the South in general, but also include not only adaptation, but also mitigation actions. So it has different pillars. I don't want to go through them, all of them, but here climate change and the relation to water is considered in a more depth. The third pillar is expanding smart finance mechanism, and we all agree that this is very important for achieving the SDGs, and we have to focus on funding and financing projects in a different way, and also focus on more projects that are more environmental friendly and more sustainable. The last pillar is accelerating innovation for sustainable water management. I think we all know that R&D, research and innovation, is very important, especially for developing countries. And developing countries need a type of low-cost, low-tech solutions so that they can solve their problems and they can try to adapt to climate change with local tools and available limited resources. That's why always innovation, at least for me, is connected to low cost, and hopefully that will help the developing countries, especially in the South, to accelerate the process of achieving the SDGs in the coming period till the year 2030. So following the fruitful discussions held yesterday on the experts level, where representatives from several countries have engaged and came up with an action-oriented document, I have the pleasure and please allow me to officially launch Cairo Call for Action toward the UN 2023, Water Conference next year in New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and congratulations. And congratulations to all of us, because with this Cairo call for action towards the UN 2023 Water Conference, we again have a major milestone, a baseline, that's a stepping stone towards achieving our goals in 2023. And I think I can speak on behalf of the Republic of Tajikistan, our colleagues and friends, that the government of the Netherlands, being the two co-hosts, Tajikistan and the Netherlands, of next year's conference, again have a firm package that helps us guide towards next year's conference. Thank you, Minister. Thank you to your team here in Cairo. Thank you to your partners in the region for making this work. We go to the panel to discuss the outcome, but also the follow-up. And thank you all for joining. It's amazing. And I start, but I will list all the names first. I start with Dr. Rola Dashti, Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia. Then I'll ask His Excellency Loïc Fauchon, President of the World Water Council. And then last, to wrap this panel up in concluding towards 2023, but not least, Sultan Rahim Zoda, Chairman of the Executive Committee of the International Fund for Saving the Aral Sea, but also Special Envoy to the President of Tajikistan on all issues related to water and the driving force towards the UN 2023 conference. And my brother, you could say, when we talk about water, to wrap it up and get to conclusions for next year's conference. Then I'll hand it back over to the government of Egypt, asking Ambassador Sharif Issa, Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs for African Affairs, to guide us way, and then His Excellency Professor Hani Sewilam, Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation, can send us on our journey. That will be the program. It is now my honor and pleasure to hand the floor to Dr. Rola Dashti, Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Secretary, the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia. The floor is yours.
Your Excellencies, dear colleagues, at the outset, let me express my pleasure to join you at this important milestone on the road to the UN 2023 Water Conference, which will be co-hosted by Tajikistan and the Netherlands, who are kindly with us today. Thank you, Hank. Thank you, Sultan. Also, let me commend the government of Egypt for its leadership in convening these high-level policy dialogues on water-scarce countries, which highlight the special challenges faced by water-scarce countries to achieve their sustainable development goals. Such dialogues are timely, as the Arab region remains far from achieving water accessibility and availability, despite our joint commitment to SDG 6. 90% of the Arab population, which is over 300 million people in the Arab region, reside in water-scarce countries. Nearly 50 million people lack access to basic drinking water. Water quality is worsening. Groundwater storage is rapidly declining, and aquifers are at risk. To complicate things, 2/3 of freshwater resources cross one or more political boundaries. Furthermore, climate change is affecting our water availability, and water-related climate events are rampant across the region. All of these challenges are compounded by COVID-19 repercussions, the Ukraine war, and conflict and displacement. But why is water scarcity such a major issue in the Arab region? It's because water scarcity is all about water security. It's about human security, about food security, about conflict prevention, about peace, prosperity, and dignified lives to all of us. Water-scarce countries do not have the luxury to continue with business as usual. Water diplomacy is needed. Transboundary cooperation is necessary. Water security is crucial. We must act now, all of us. Colleagues, the challenges are daunting, but progress has been made and solutions are in hand. The Arab Regional Preparatory Meeting for the UN 2023 Water Conference, hosted by ASQA in partnership with the League of Arab States in May, shared success stories and reviewed progress at the national and regional levels. A new joint Arab Ministerial Council for Water and Agriculture now regularly meets. Regional knowledge hubs, such as those fostered by ASQA on climate change and groundwater, provide a shared knowledge base that informs water cooperation. New financial instruments are supporting green recovery in the water sector, which is needed in our region, now burdened by $1.4 trillion of debt. This includes ASQA Climate, SDG, Debt Swap, Donor Nexus Initiative. Colleague, climate finance is also an issue in the Arab region. Arab states receive less than 7% of their articulated climate finance needs. Of this limited amount, only 1/5 support adaptation in the water and agriculture sectors. Increasing finance for water is central to achieving our ambitions. ASQA commits to convene an Arab Climate Finance Forum for water action in 2023. This forum will build upon the Climate Finance Forum that ASQA hosted last month with the Egyptian COP27 presidency and the UN climate change high-level champions, which overwhelmingly demonstrated that water and adaptation are the climate finance priorities in the Arab region. With your involvement and partnership, ASQA also commits to bring the water and climate communities together to promote bankable projects to support the overcoming the finance gap. We also commit to continue our work on innovative climate finance initiatives and to be the voice of the region for more concessional loans, grants, and the realization of the $100 billion committed by developed countries per year. Our commitment, your partnership, active engagement, and actions will accelerate progress during the second half of the Water Action Decade and will support the achievement of the Paris Agreement goals. In closing, let me commend the government of Egypt for the Cairo call for action and its contribution to the UN 2023 Water Conference. ASQA stands with you to champion the water agenda. It calls on member states and stakeholders to actively engage and express clear commitments in support of the Water Action Decade to ensure water security for sustainability, peace, and prosperity for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dashti. Thank you, Rola, for your passionate contribution to this debate and the commitments you bring, concrete commitments to get us on track in the context of, as His Excellency, the Minister of Water Resources, Hani Sewilam, already said, water scarcity and security so critical challenged here in the region. Your Excellency Loïc Fauchon, President of the World Water Council, can I invite you to the podium to give your voice and ideas from the perspective of the Council, but of course also the road ahead, knowing that the Council is a critical partner in moving the world towards water action. The floor is yours.
Dear Minister of Water of Egypt, dear friend, Excellencies, dear friends of water, I think in that room there's only friends of water. Water is climate, climate is water. It's easy to say today, but 15 years ago, it was not so easy. I remember arriving in Copenhagen as young president of the council. The organizers say to me, do not enter, water is not climate. That's a reality. And we did not participate to Copenhagen COP. So, due to different influence and the influence of Egypt, we are moving forward. But water is demography, and demography is water. And demography at the very moment, today, all over the world, is a more important enemy of water than climate. Climate is coming. Demography is here. We could say water is food, and food is water, and add others. I would like to underline that water is essential for humans and nature. Essential. Humans and nature are water. And we didn't forget that moving to Sharm el-Sheikh. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for decision makers, all kinds of decision makers, to include this certainty in their mind, in their heart, in their action, and in their decisions. And we, water professional experts, all here and in other places, we know that, we know this, and we are convinced. We are convinced that water is politics. We multiply studies, debates, meetings, forums to make our voices heard. However, we are hearing more about the price of gas barrel, of weapons markets, of an energy crisis, and on diplomatic and military tensions. 20 years ago, I remember I said, taps before guns, but it is still guns before taps. But a small number of persons have paid attention to the publishing of a very important study in the scientific review, The Lancet. Everybody knows The Lancet. Two months ago, 6 to 8 million people die every year, due to the conjunctions of pollution of air, water, and soil. 6 to 8 million. To COVID in 1 year, and every year. To these terrible figures should be added human disasters due to droughts and floods. Indeed, our voice for water should be reinforced and better heard. It's our role, it's our duty, it's our responsibility. And in Dakar last March, with our Senegalese colleagues here, during the World Water Forum, we have presented the various global resolutions for the future of water. And I would like not only the future of water, I would like to say the peace of water. First, increase in every country, every city, every local community, water security. We have to secure water. In the same time, we have to save water. On one hand, by producing more fresh water, more drinking water, pumping, water transfers and storage, reservoirs, and more desalination and recycling water, as Egypt is doing among other nations. They are so-called unconventional resources, and they are and they will be the revolution in the water field for the next decades, mostly reusing water. On the other hand, by respecting water and saving water for a better maintenance of the infrastructures and networks, and also by changing strongly our awareness on water. We should then make water security and water saving a world priority during the next years and decades. Second priority, we need to reconsider completely the financing mechanism of the water sector in the poorest countries. Put a small part from climate fund moving to the financing of these infrastructures. Establish specific blended financing for water and apply enlarged sub-sovereignty principles for whole cities which are proved to be solved. And finally, we need to give, as you have said, Mr. Minister, a new reality to hydro diplomacy, which has been practicing our World Water Council for quite 20 years. We, the Council, are saying that rivers' peace give shared prosperity to river banks and lands. We are saying that we need a real harmony between water for humans and water for nature. Sufficient water to save biodiversity and ecosystems. Hydro diplomacy means dialogue. Again and again and again, dialogue. And with all these elements, and a few others, obviously, we will give a true reality to the right to water, the right to access to water and sanitation, the right to access to safe water, which will step by step be enforceable for all. These very simple principles about water, securing, financing, governing, sharing, we want to all together to take them to Sharm el-Sheikh for COP27. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, ministers, to make water in Sharm el-Sheikh, make water more than a guest, make water a permanent citizen in the COP. and listen to the solutions which will be presented. And to finish, I would like to announce here, together for the first time, that with our Indonesian colleagues, we are now on the road to the 10th World Water Forum, which will be held from 18 to 24 May 2024, on the theme of water for shared prosperity. Our purpose, ladies and gentlemen, is to present thousands of solutions for water to meet the hopes of billions of inhabitants of our planet who would like to be able to appreciate every morning what I call the happiness of water. Thank you.
Merci, Loïc. Thank you so much. Thank you for your continuous leadership, but also the memory you bring. Working a long time in the field of water and climate and sustainability, we remember things from the past that we have to reiterate or sometimes rethink, hey, we are in a better place. Copenhagen versus Sharm el-Sheikh. In many ways, a different situation, but when we look at water, a better place. While the world changed, not always for the better, and the challenges when it comes to water and climate increase and impact humanity and the environment, although they are connected, we are better positioned to act upon that. And that's interesting. We are, after Copenhagen, somewhere else. The challenges are more. But with water, the responsibility is on us to drive that connection into the climate agenda and forward. Loïc said, not make it a guest, but a permanent citizen. And I would say not only through the COPs, but through all these conferences and compacts and agreements that we have. Highlighting water and water-related risks in the way to make and drive decision-making, to get to better policies, practices and governance helps. It is not a top-down decision provoked by criminals. No, it is the inspiration that we give to the world, that if you think, act, and join forces on water, there is opportunity, there is sustainability, there is resiliency, and there is equity. Thanks, Loïc. To round up this part and to get us to next year and beyond, it's my honor and pleasure to ask Mr. Sultan Rahim Zouda, Chairman of the Executive Committee of the International Fund for Saving the RLC, but also Special Envoy to the President of the Republic of Tajikistan on the issues of water, to tell us, take us on that road and tell us how we get from Cairo to New York. Sultan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Henk. Honorable Minister, Excellencies, distinguished participants, it is my great pleasure to an opportunity in this session to bridge the Cairo Water Week with the UN 2023 conference. And taking this opportunity, I would like to thank the government of Egypt, the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, and Honorable Minister and your team for putting a lot of efforts to make it happen and to put the water at the heart of the climate action. Since water sits at the core of the sustainable development, and it was mentioned by Henk also that water should be at the heart of the sustainable development, I think the water should be in our heart, in our mind. It should be not only for the 2023 conference or for achieving SDGs, but for our lives, since water is a source of our life. And without water, there is no life, basically. So, in terms of the Cairo call for action, first I would like to congratulate our Egyptian colleague with adoption of this very important document which will serve indeed as a stepping stone for the 2023 conference. So a number of important moments of this document and how to bridge it and how to link it with the UN 2023 conference. The first is action-oriented. The document calls for action. And everybody knows we can talk a lot, we can have many ideas, initiatives, but without action on ground, we will not achieve any success. It was mentioned several times that 3-4 years ago, we were talking about the doubling our efforts to achieve SDG 6. But nowadays, we are talking about the quadruple efforts to achieve SDGs. And if there will be no change in the 2023 conference, in the COP27, in our efforts now for the next 2-3 years, after 5 years, we will say we need to increase our efforts by 10 times to achieve the water-related goals, not for the SDG, not for the agenda of 2030, but further. So that's why I think that the action orientation of this document is very important. And that's why basically one of the main principles of the preparatory process of the UN 2023 conference is action-oriented, and it was a decision of the Netherlands and Tajikistan as co-hosts of the conference, supported by our colleagues from DESA and UN Water, to follow up this approach to have a success for the 2023 conference. The second moment is the themes, the topics covered by Cairo call for action. Water scarcity. Madame Dashti mentioned that especially in this region, water scarcity is it's a water security. It's a matter of the peace and security. And she's right, basically. And this is, I think that this is not a hot topic for the Arab region or Africa region. The case of Europe in this year, it showed that it's the challenge for everybody, for all the regions of the world. And there was some kind of assessment that the next pandemic should be drought. And it requires our efforts today now to address this challenge and to be prepared for that. The second is transboundary cooperation, beyond any comments. So 2/3 of the world population live in the basins of the transboundary rivers. That is a case of Central Asia region also. 85% of water resources in Central Asia are being originated or formed in the territory of the 2 upstream countries, while more than 80% of these resources being used by the downstream countries. And in such a condition, without proper coordination and cooperation, it would be impossible to resolve any water issues. So the cooperation is indeed one of the most important topics, and that's why it's also one of the themes of the interactive dialogues suggested by the Netherlands and Tajikistan, but based on the consultation with member states and the stakeholders in this process. And the third is stronger focus to water and climate interlinkages. President Fashon mentioned water is climate and climate is water. And of course, we are lucky now that today we can talk about this. He mentioned that in Copenhagen, you couldn't talk about this. So you were not allowed even to participate in the climate discussion. And that was even 5 years ago. Only last year in Glasgow, we could organize a water pavilion. And this year, again, thanks to the government of Egypt, thanks to your presidency, we see the water is one of the thematic days of the COP. So thank you very much. And this is very important. I'm not going to say about the figures, 80% of the climate change impact goes through water and etc. So everybody knows about this. So these are my main findings from this document. And as co-host of the 2023 conference, Tajikistan and the Netherlands, we are very happy now to integrate the outcomes of the Cairo Water Week and especially Cairo call for action into the preparation process of the UN 2023 conference. So what is the next? First, themes. So I talked about the themes, but climate, water cooperation, water scarcity, financing, innovation, basically they are part of the themes which had been suggested to the PGA meeting, which will be next week. And I hope much, I'm sure, I believe, I'm confident, the outcomes of this Cairo Water Week also will make a contribution to the discussion we will have next week on 24th and 25th October in New York. 24th is about the stakeholders, and the 25th is mostly meeting with the member states to finalize the themes of the interactive dialogues. And financing and innovation as the pillars of the global acceleration framework had been suggested as cross-cutting issues for the themes of the interactive dialogues, and I hope much that we will be able to finalize the themes we suggested because they are very important. So the second one is the integration of the discussion and deliberation in this meeting into the COP27. Again, thanks to Egypt, we will have Water Day. During the COP, we will have Water Pavilion, and it would be good to continue the discussion around water and climate interlinkages and to start to talk about the implementation of these commitments and actions registered in this document. So, and the third, of course, we are expecting the actions which had been suggested through this document and which will be coming after the call for action into the water action agenda of the UN 2023 conference. You know, the water action agenda is one of the main outcomes of the UN 2023 conference, and we are looking basically forward to have the commitments from around the world, from the member states, from the stakeholders, from the private sector, financial institutions, from even individuals, small and big, to be collected in this water action agenda and to work on them, to implement them, and to find maybe the most impactful one and to build a partnership and coalition around those actions. So to have the effect, to have the change which will help us to achieve SDG 6, other water-related goals. So we hope much that the Cairo Water Week will help us also for more closer collaboration and active participation of different stakeholders, especially from this region, in the preparatory process until the conference, but also in the conference itself. And we are expecting the participation of the leaders, the political leaders, head of states, head of governments, who can take basically the leadership and commitment for action which could make the change and help us to achieve SDG 6 and other water-related goals. So, and the most important point of this collaborative work, again, the cooperation. I think that I talked about the partnership, cooperation and partnership. So toward the conference, during the conference, and after the conference, around the impactful actions. So I think the good example of this cooperation and collaboration is the partnership of Tajikistan and the Netherlands. So you know this story basically when we started work. So I told about this I think several times with Hank. We just were counterparts. Then we became the colleague, and then we became the friend. And really this process made us brothers. We are brothers on water, and I really appreciate thank you very much. Really appreciate our collaboration and enjoy this cooperation toward the 23 conference. But see, it's not the brotherhood, it's another cooperation between two persons. It is the power of water, basically. You see, two countries with different nature, with different culture, upstream and the downstream countries, the mountain and delta, developed and developing, with different culture, with different geographical position. So the water united us in this process. That is the power of water. The water can connect us, and it is our idea, it is our motto, and it is our dream to unite the world in the UN 2023 conference around water and for water. Please join us in this process, and I wish you all success in this process, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Sultan. Thank you for that brotherhood partnership. Thank you for your dedication and commitment year-long in the region, in Tajikistan, but also in the world. Thank you, government of Tajikistan, for your leadership on the Water Action Decades. This is the second already that you champion and make sure that the world continues to be aware of the issues of water. And thank you also for making sure that we can overcome and bridge a divide in the world that water provides us. Sometimes water divides us, but it's only by misunderstanding. Water is our best and greatest connector. Thank you so much also for highlighting us through how we get successfully from Cairo to COP, to the UN 2023 conference. Because that is hard work. And it looks hard work for the two of us, but it's actually hard work for you too. Because you have to come to New York with commitments, with actions, like embedded in the Cairo call for action. You have to work harder every day to make sure that this world becomes water secure for humans and the environment. It doesn't go by itself. It's not that you wake up one day and because Tajikistan and the Netherlands co-host the conference, that all of a sudden the world changes. It's also not that UN conferences change the world. No, they are an opportunity to change the world. But to change the world is on us. And water provides us with that opportunity, but also with that responsibility. The call that water gives us is about that responsibility. That the burden we share is a pathway towards equity, resiliency, and sustainability. Thank you, Sultan. Many days to come, not so many months, but if we count days, it looks like we have time enough. We get to the closing of today and to finalize Cairo Water Week and to get us onwards towards COP in 2023. And before doing that, I'd like to give the floor back to the government of Egypt. Ambassador Sharif Issa, Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs for African Affairs of the government of Egypt. The floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. So, good evening, everyone. It's so difficult to be the last and least to speak. But at least I have an opportunity to sum up what we want to say concerning the Cairo call for action. The Cairo call for action, why do we need this? Let me first, please, Your Excellency Minister Hani Swaylam, I would like to congratulate you for launching this action plan that we need to follow up to 2023. And I would like to thank very much Her Excellency Mrs. Laura for the commitments that you gave, the clear commitments and the ESCO support for the Cairo call for action. Monsieur Fouchon, thank you very much for calling water is climate and climate is water, water is food and food is water, water is life. This is exactly what we need to know and to learn and how to deal with it. The joint chairmanship of the active and action needed, Tajikistan and Netherlands, in your personalities, Henk and Sultan, I would like to thank you very much for the effort you're doing and the support you're giving to this issue, the very important issue that we have in front of us. But why do we need Cairo call for action? Simply what we have seen lately. The worst drought in Europe for 500 years is in front of us. The worst drought decade, 2 decades in America in 1,200 years is in front of us. The disaster in Somalia, the drought in Somalia, people are dying every day, not with tens, but with hundreds. That's why we need an action plan. And if we go to 2023 without an action plan, it is an action-oriented meeting. How can we go there without an action plan? This is what Egypt tried to do. We need an action plan to move with. This is what we are putting in front of you. His Excellency the Minister have launched the action plan. Now it is your turn to support the action plan. We have tried to accommodate all your remarks in this action plan. I would call upon you to read it carefully, to study it carefully, and starting from today, it will be distributed to all the distinguished guests today attending, and it will be given to Geneva and New York, to our mission, the Egyptian mission in Geneva and New York, in order to start the expression of interest. Are you interested in this document or not? We need you to be interested. We urge you to be interested, because this is how we can go to 2023. Without going to 2023, we cannot reach 2030. And without achieving the SDG 6, we cannot achieve in totality the 2023 agenda. It is simple. It is as simple as this. This is what we need. This is what we are calling for. I don't want to read out the conclusion and the outcomes of the Cairo call for action. But as I've said, we have tried our best to accommodate all the remarks of the distinguished delegations and expertise who came and participated in yesterday's meeting, and what we have received from the ESCWA, from Senegal, from our brothers in Brazil. We have tried to accommodate all the remarks, and it is still, we can take in consideration a lot of your remarks, which I hope it is not a lot of remarks, but I hope that you look at the totality of the document. The totality of the document is to gather different countries together in order to stand behind the outcomes of 2023 and to move forward to 2030. On our way, as it took me a few seconds to arrive here, we will find ourselves in front of the COP27 and then the COP28. COP27, I heard a very funny abbreviation and some words in Stockholm that you are gonna wet the COP. Yes, we need to wet everything. We need to have the water getting us together. As it brought the delta with the mountain, as Sultan said, we need to bring together, to bring us together, to come together, to speak together. The COP will be wet. Sultan have said the events in the COP. A pavilion, water pavilion, a thematic day for water. We do not want to forget the initiative of the Secretary General of the UN. He wants to cover every person on this planet with an early warning system. This is what we need. We need to have an alert, an alarm that those people are suffering from drought. Somalia is not far away from here. People are dying, as I said. I have been to Somalia twice. I have seen how people are suffering from drought. The cultivation of olive oil, the olive trees in Spain, 40% is away. The cotton crop in the United States have gone. We have a serious problem, and without this we cannot move. COP27 would be an opportunity to raise our flag high and to say, what action do we need? The action is in front of you. So I call upon every one of you and upon our friendly countries, come and stand together, adopt this call of action and move it with some few amendments to the 2023 New York meetings. I'm sure that on the 24th and the 25th of October this month, you will adopt the thematic agenda of the 2023 meeting. We have agreed, I think, in principle about the themes that we need to speak about. But now you have an action-oriented plan. So let's move to it. I don't want to take much of your time. I just wanted to say that we are waiting for your support. You're here. We are here to listen to your comments. We promise that we can take all comments into consideration and to accommodate it into our document. This is not our document anymore. From the moment that the minister have launched this initiative, the call of action is yours. So please again support the document, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much, Hank, for giving me the space, and I wish you a very successful meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Sharif Issa, for your dedication and commitment to the cause. And to clarify, procedurally wise, as the Minister, His Excellency Professor Hani Sewilam, Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation, at the beginning of this concluding closing ceremony, we adopted the Cairo call for action towards UN 2023 Water Conference. And we want you to own it and bring it forward. The document is in your hands. It is in your laps. It is in our collective responsibility to make it a success towards the COP, towards the conference, and beyond. I close by giving the floor to His Excellency Professor Hani Sewilam, Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation Egypt, but not before I want to thank him and the government of Egypt, but also him personally and his team, Dr. Iman, who is hiding, I guess, with her team working hard every second of the day. Yes. I hope she's somewhere in the building listening and hearing what we say. Without her and her dedication and the team's dedication, we wouldn't have landed here in such a way. I want to compliment you for your leadership in that and giving her also the opportunity to lead on this. It is inspirational to work with you and your team, and we look forward to do this, holding hands towards the COP and beyond. So thank you all for owning and co-owning the call for action towards the conference next year. We want to hear from you. We want to see you in New York, virtually, online, or in New York itself. We want to see you at the COP, at our water pavilion, virtually or in person. And most importantly, we want to see you in New York next year to come together on this water action agenda and drive those actions forward for water security, for our environment, for humanity as a whole, and for everyone that is in need. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. The floor is yours to end this dialogue.
So, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you, Henk, for this great support. And it's not only about moderation, about the work that you are doing with us over the years and your pushes and also technical support in all the details in many documents, including this one. So thank you also for your help and support. Before I close, I think there are some people I have to thank here. And first of all is Dr. Rola Dashti for her great support and effort, and also Carol Shoshani for her great support and contributing in putting this document also together in collaboration with the other team members. As I said, Henk has been also very supportive. Mr. Sultan for his great support and activities with us. Mr. Luis Fauchon also for his contribution and the continuous and historical support to the activities of water in Egypt, and being a very good friend of us over the previous years and the years to come. Here I have also to mention His Excellency, also Ambassador Isa, for his great support and contribution. Before I come to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and many people who contributed in this one and taking the lead of formulating and putting this document together, and also the great support of the Egyptian mission in Geneva for the effort they did and the effort that they will have to do to disseminate the call for action in the coming period. So ESCWA has been a great partner for us. So thank you for the organization. Many Arab countries also contributed in this. Africans, I know I will miss many, but at least I have to mention the ones that I just noted now. African countries at the global level, also many countries, including Brazil, China, Tajikistan, of course, and the Netherlands. Netherlands has a great contribution and historical water relation with Egypt over many years. So I have also to thank the partners, and as I said, the Arab League, ASCAD, also ICARDA, and of course, I would like to thank our team for the great effort they did, especially Dr. Iman, who is really the dynamic person behind all of this, and he is the person who took the lead of reaching this document, and her team as well. I can mention here Dr. Amr and Dr. Walid for their great support, and the many people behind the scene. So I would like to thank you all also for the active participation, to thank and also extend my thanks and great appreciation for excellencies, present ministers, representatives of international organizations who have the chance to participate virtually or by online video messages with us. Thanks for the co-host of the UN Conference 2023 by the government of Netherlands and Tajikistan. That's a great effort. I know how much effort you are doing to have this conference happening. Great thanks to the esteemed panelists and moderate, and also the moderation of Henk and the organization and experts who contributed here. As they said, the call for action, or the Cairo call for action, is now in your hands. So please take it to the conference, the UN conference, Water in 2023. Thank you very much. With this, we close the session. Thank you.